Morris dancing is a centuries-old English tradition that's still going strong, but it seems not always without controversy. More than a dozen Morris groups, or sides as they're known, were dancing in Birmingham this weekend to mark the start of the agricultural year. But the Alv Church group, which features dancers with black painted faces, was forced to abandon its performance after onlookers accused them of being racist. Here's some mobile phone footage posted to YouTube.
Is this not racist?
No, it's not.
Is this not racist?
No, it's not. Come away.
Is this not racist?
Come away.
Painting your faces black.
Come away.
It's a form.
You had a chance.
It was used with your Illuminati.
You had a chance for me to explain to you.
The superior race was so you fought it. This is a form of mocking black faces.
We're not dressed for that.
Yes, you are. So why is
You
your
had a chance for me to
faces
explain
painted
to you.
black? Do you not think you will hurt someone's feelings? I am one of those people. Do you not explain yourself?
And we're joined now by Conservative MP Michael Fabricant, who has defended the Morris dancers, and by Lester Holloway, a campaigner with the race equality think tank, the Runnymede Trust. Welcome to both of you. Lester Holloway, you've spent some time researching the art of blackening faces when dancing. Do you believe it has racial connotations?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's been rather understudied, the whole phenomenon of Morris dancing and mummering and indeed harlequining. But there's been enough research to show that there's been overlap with minstrelsy from the United States, and it has connotations with representation of and the characterisation of black people. Having said that, not all Morris dancers do black up. Only a section of them do, and there's a lot of different theories as to how their tradition came about. But I think that if you're going into the centre of one of the most multicultural cities, and in the case of Birmingham, then I think that they need to understand how people feel about the whole concept of black facing, that it is offensive to black people because it actually comes from a lot of negative portrayals of black people, which goes into history.
So it may be traditional and part of the heritage of some Morris dancing, but it is, and you can see how it could be offensive.
I could understand it if we were talking about the black and white minstrels who are deliberately making themselves out to be slaves, Afro-Caribbeans. But these are not. These are guys who don't paint their hands. They don't. They wear blonde hair, just a bit like me, really. There's no intention at all to dress up as a black person.
But they are still blacking up their faces.
Only their faces, and they do it roughly as well. I mean, I am a Morris dancer. I do it in Lichfield, where there's a great tradition, and there's absolutely no intention whatsoever to make out that you are a black person.
Do
this
Morris
is rather
dancers know
like...
what the historical heritage is? When they black up their faces, do they actually know? I mean, do you know what it is?
I do know what it is. It was set up in about the 1550s, possibly long before, where people went begging, and they did it to disguise their faces because it could mean death if you beg. Can I just say as well, but this is now nonsense what's happening, because there was a case about 3 months ago where the MOD pulled a photograph they were going to use in an advert of a Royal Marine with his black camouflage paint on, and they thought that would be offensive. So, come on, let's get real about this.
This is not entirely correct. I mean, there are different theories, as I said, as to how blackfacing came about. But if you take the example of Padstow in Cornwall, they don Afro wigs. They used to sing songs which had the N-word in it, and they actually used to teach them in schools until the 1980s. It was called Darky Day. They've changed the name, but their traditions are very much the same. And I think that, as a country, we are becoming more multicultural. The whole concept, as I said, of blackfacing is offensive. So I think there has to be a recognition that this is something which is out of step. I mean, for example, if we're taking the depiction of Jewish people in Shylock, the character Shylock, or indeed Fagin in Oliver Twist, the negative portrayal of Jewish people is actually being downplayed as a result, I think, of changing society.
But that's a stereotype, which is slightly different to blacking.
Too.
Is it, though? I mean, are you saying then the Morris dancers are intentionally upholding a negative stereotype of black people when it's...
I'm not saying that, because many of the Morris dancers themselves, do not believe that that's what they're doing.
And isn't this what this is about?
Well, I think that, authors such as Jill Buckland and Patricia Bater have actually chronicled the link between portrayals of African people and Morris dancing and harlequining and mummery.
I mean, Michael Fabricant, in the 21st century, in 2017, should we really accept people coming up, blacking their faces for whatever reason, even if there is no racist intent, and it seems from what you're saying there isn't, that they should still be able to come out in public and dance in this way?
No, I disagree with you. I think if they're trying to make out they're black people, that is wrong and offensive, and I would find it offensive just as Leicester does.
But no one will know the history, will they?
But the Alvechurch lot, whom I know well, they don't look remotely as if they're being Afro-Caribbeans or black people. They do it roughly in streaks. As I said earlier, they don't colour their hands and they don't colour their legs, because part of their legs are showing as well. There is no intention by them. And anyone watching... Look, at the end of the day, we've got some traditions. And look, we shouldn't be racist in any way. We are multicultural and we should rejoice in that fact. But come on, we have got to be realistic. England is England, and we should allow for that.
Why can't we have historical traditions in the way the Morris dancers are portraying it?
I don't think there are too many people that argue that these shouldn't carry on.
So you're not calling it for to be banned, then?
Oh, I'm not
blacking up on
absolutely
faces?
not. I mean, the Runnymede Trust itself actually stands for doing studies, being open to different points of view. But I think that when you're coming into the centre of Birmingham and blacking up, because that's what it is, then it's not surprising that there's going to be a negative reaction.
Right, so you do want it banned, though, in big metropolitan areas, is that what you're saying, where it could cause offence if there's a diverse population?
Well, we know it causes offence, and I think that any black-facing that takes place in a multicultural area will inevitably do that.
What do you think?
I'm not in favour of banning it, but I am in favour of Michael thinking it's ridiculous. So what is the point of it? I mean, because this is a tradition which I'd never heard of before, so it's not one which I can live without this tradition, if I'm honest. And, I mean, why... If it causes offence, just why not voluntarily think, I may not do that?
Well,
because I can carry on Morris dancing without doing that.
We have in Lichfield the Green Man Bower. And in fact, I dance with them, and it's led by a guy with a green face. And he's a pagan, and he represents the new...
That's different, can't you?
Yeah, but there might be, we've got Lichfield Cathedral, and I could well imagine, if we go by your argument, that the Bishop of Lichfield, the Lord Bishop of Lichfield, and the Dean of Lichfield Cathedral, they might say, look,
no, but
anybody can be offended about anything if they choose to be. We've just got to be just a little bit sensible about some of these things.
Which is what I'm asking you to be, precisely that. It should be done by a voluntary transaction. I don't want to ban anything, but why do it? Why not just not do it? Why not go to Birmingham and not black up?
Because maybe it's a tradition and they're not blacking up fully anyway. And I totally agree with Leicester, by the way, about what he was saying about the Padstow people who do try and make out that they're black people. But the Alvechurch, the Alvechurch lot who came round don't even remotely look like black people.
Now, you do Morris dancing, as you've just said. Do you black up your face?
No, I belong to a different group in Lichfield, and I'm afraid I'm a whitey, but there you go.
All right, well, on that...
People don't object to that.
And you don't do green either. OK, thank you both very much for coming in.